Depression is a common and life-changing mental illness in the Canadian population. This is especially true for First Nations people who experience major depression at twice the national average. At its worst, depression can lead to suicide.
My name is Jordan Johnson. I'm a carrier from Tatchat Reserve. I live with depression. I was diagnosed years ago and was put on antidepressants, but stopped several months after I was diagnosed. Years after that, I went through a very tough breakup. I had many terrible thoughts of doubt and suicide, while being left in disarray. I was scared and dismal because of what I've done and what can't be undone. It's all my fault. But what I found is that I lost myself, as well as lots of friends, due to the fact I was hiding everything. My pain, my sadness, my anger, and myself. One of my attempts was on the bridge. I thought if I just plunged myself off the bridge, my problems would be over, but it would only fall into someone else's hands.
My name is Ashley Howard. I'm from the Gitxsan village of Gitxagukla, and I've been battling with depression and anxiety for years after dealing with a series of unfortunate events. It led to self-harm, alcohol, and other drug abuses, which also led to the acts of suicide a couple of times in the last year. At this point, the days were getting darker and it was getting much more difficult to move on.
My name is Alex Stoney. I'm a Gitxsan from Gitamax village. I live with depression. I went undiagnosed for years before I sought any kind of help. I dreaded stepping out my front door, sure that whatever I was doing was nothing of note or importance. I felt like everything I had done in the past was the only stuff that really mattered. In my darkest day, I felt like I had nothing left to offer. Those thoughts during that drive scared the hell out of me. They felt so real, but I knew that wasn't me. I took steps to combat depression by telling professionals and loved ones my situation. It's still a fight today, but now I have the tools and support to fight back. Depression had played its hand, but it wasn't strong enough to win.
What led to my recovery was realizing that I was hurting the people I loved, and because of that, I decided to get help, which started off with seeing my family doctor, who has recommended a counselor for me to see. And one of the main things she recommended was to get out more. So I started hiking, and that has been amazing.
One song at a time, I will find my way out. So I'll keep writing and composing. Each song I write makes me feel more accomplished. Each song I play on the piano is a therapy session. Each day I keep getting better.
Our past is what we've been through, but that is not who we are. It has helped mold us, but it does not define us. Someday, everything will make perfect sense. So for now, laugh at the confusion, smile through the tears, and keep reminding yourself that everything happens for a reason.
The gap between elders and youth is getting wider and wider each passing day as an elder leaves this world. Great knowledge, history, and connections are lost. Time is ticking. Are you connected? The impact it had on me in the connection to my elders has been quite massive, I guess. It's put a lot of barriers up, and with a lot of modern things like the internet, you lose that kind of really close family connection you once had before. The things you hear about, like a lot of families growing up where they would be just live in like one long house, they'd be that close, and a lot of separation has happened with modern things. Like, I personally don't live on the reserve, and that's a choice that my parents made, but that's if we were still living in our traditional land, if we hadn't been almost hoaxed into like moving into towns where there's a lot of foreign things that were introduced to us, like drugs and alcohol and modern things, we would have been kind of flourishing as our own society in our own special communities.
I no longer have a knowledge holder in my family, such as a grandparent to go to, and so it's my parents know the culture and the traditions, but they're not fluent in the language, and so I have to learn where I can and when I can. And a lot of times for me, life gets in the way. Work, busy lifestyle, or just stress, and I don't take the opportunity to learn. And I find that it's a choice that I'm not making at this time to make a full commitment to connecting to my culture.
What makes me feel disconnected from my culture is drugs and alcohol and people numbing out residential school with those things, and it makes me scared to ask my grandparents to teach me my language and teach me other traditional things, because it might bring up a lot of traumatic memories for them, and I don't want them to turn to drugs and alcohol.
I'm realizing now that I haven't had that dedication or the pride to further my knowledge within that while they were here. And now that all our elders are going, it's pretty important that our youth and our generation has to step up and go and get that education that we need to know where we come from.
I also think it might be because of kind of like the modern age, because right now we're dealing with different problems other than trying to keep our culture alive.
My girl, I need you. Do not be afraid. I want to share with you our language and traditions. We can't be afraid.
The first thing that scared me was my eyesight. And finally one day, I couldn't even read a road sign, so that's when I decided it's time to go see the doctor. And then when I went and see the doctor, the harsh reality set in. He said I had diabetes. And to tell you the truth, I'm still in denial. I hate this shit. My grandson, he came in and seen the bandage on my foot. And he just came from the open house, so he runs downstairs, grabs this little first aid kit, puts a band-aid on both feet. He says, there you go, Papa. I helped you.
It's diabetic neuropathy. That's where the nerves, you lose your nerves first because they're small, the capillaries or whatever, they don't get as much blood. And then when the things that need the blood, if your blood sugars are too high, your blood moves slower, so it has a harder time to get there. So the nerves die first.
Indigenous peoples living in Canada are among the highest risk populations for diabetes and related complications. Screening for diabetes should be carried out earlier and at more frequent intervals.
A purposeful process of learning and continuous self-reflection is required by the healthcare worker to integrate Indigenous-specific context within the clinical approach to diabetes management.
Many Indigenous communities have families with high rates and high risks of type 2 diabetes. If you're in a community with high rates of diabetes, see a healthcare provider to learn more about ways to be tested for and prevent diabetes.
Ask about community initiatives that promotes healthy behaviors, such as diabetes walks, weight loss groups, fitness classes, community kitchens and gardens, and school-based activities for children and teenagers.
The causes of diabetes are complex. Learning about the medical, social, and cultural contributions to diabetes is key to diabetes prevention. In particular, seek to understand the relationships between the history of colonization and the current high rates of diabetes in Indigenous peoples. If you are planning a pregnancy or may get pregnant, get screened for diabetes. If you are pregnant and have diabetes or have been diagnosed with gestational diabetes, visit your healthcare providers more often and find out about exercise, breastfeeding, and other support groups for pregnant women and new mothers.
Type 1 diabetes can occur at any age, but it usually starts in children or young adults. That's why it used to be called juvenile diabetes.
It's the reality of life. It's diabetes. This is what could happen if you don't look after yourself, eh?
Aqua blue.
Aqua blue.
Aqua blue.
Aqua blue.
Aqua blue.
I just don't think there's enough harsh realities of this disease and what could happen. And this is, if I left it long enough and I didn't tell Sandra, the nurses and the doctors were telling me that we caught it just in time. The consequences could have been severe. Like I could have even been fighting for my life if I didn't say anything. It's scary. And then right now, all I want to do is walk. I want to get my blood sugar down. I want to control it. And then with my grandson looking after me, I got lots to teach him too. And I can't do it if I'm sick.